While in college, I had a part-time job at a salon, and while working there, I met this new woman, but she just came up to me one day after having a conversation with her, and she was like, "Are you in a relationship?" And I was like, "No, I'm not in a relationship." And she's like, "Oh my gosh, I have the perfect person for you to meet. It's my husband's best friend." She gave me Daniel's number after getting his permission. It took a while, but he finally called me, and we ended up talking for like hours, which is really crazy. And we got to know each other, and he was really funny. I felt like he was like warm-hearted, had a great personality, kind, gentle, friendly. And I just really liked having a conversation with him.
Whenever my best friend's wife pitched me the idea, I was like, okay, just, whatever. And I really wasn't looking for anything, and we talked on the phone and we clicked on the phone. I was like, okay, well, this could, go somewhere. And I think we were, talking and kind of hanging out for just maybe a little bit over a month and a half before we decided to make it official. Yeah, I really wasn't in a rush. I was just enjoying life, heavily involved with the church, the mentoring program at the time. So my single season I was just focused on doing the duties of the church and just doing me, really.
So my singleness season, it wasn't anything special. So my friends call me like the mama bear of the group. I pretty much like took care of everybody, and I'm the oldest of 4. And I was raised by a single mother, so my focus was completely different. I was more focused on like going to college, getting my degree, not getting caught up, didn't want to be with child, so I was not looking for anyone.
The dating process, probably just a little over a month, if that. It didn't take that long.
And then we dated for about 2 years, and then Daniel proposed. Some of the dates we had definitely involved food. We're both foodies. We really liked going out to movies.
Yeah, definitely being active, hanging out, and some days we'll just have a low key where she would come over, cook, or I would cook, and then we would just hang out.
We used to take turns cooking meals for each other, and we would like plan everything and take these ridiculous pictures and put it on social media.
Yeah.
I guess people cared back then, but we look at the time hops and it looks so lame.
It's very, very lame. But it just turned into, like I said, organically into something that I really like her. She's sweet, fun to be around. Yeah, it just happened. There was, for me, there was no aha moment. I want to be with her. It's just like, I really do like her.
For me, he's just a great person overall. It felt like I was with one of my best friends, just not like a female. And we just had a great time together, easy to talk to. I felt like I was at peace. He wasn't and he was just so kind and thoughtful, and he listened to what I said, and it showed up in other ways within our relationship. Like if I said, I like something, he would get that thing, whatever it was, and just because gifts, and he just honestly cared about my perspective on life in general.
And I just loved being around her, and the emotions were just peace, and definitely just like she fits. She's supposed to be my girlfriend. She's supposed to be by my side and whatnot. So I think those were like my emotions whenever we were dating, and like when I kind of was like, okay, yeah, this is it.
For me, the craziest thing is, so I was raised by a single mother, but I had a lot of other influences in my life as well, but not so much really men. I was like searching for something that like I've never seen before, but I felt like I knew what it was. A calmness. I didn't feel like anxiety or anger if something happened, just like it was meant to be.
When you are single for a long time, you don't have anybody telling you, you do this and it's annoying, or you shouldn't say this, or you shouldn't do this, and it's tough to hear that because you're perfect. What are you talking? What are we doing here? It's me. I'm perfect. Don't nobody know me like me. Once you are in a relationship with someone and you actually do care about their feelings, care about what they think of you, you can either decide to take that into consideration, or you can deflect and be like, nah, you tripping. I've always been like this, and you're not gonna change me and stuff like that.
When we went to marriage counseling with Bishop and First Lady, one thing I remember them saying is, whenever you're with your significant other, it's like you're looking inside of a mirror. And so that reflection is what your partner sees. And if they're telling you you're doing something, then you probably are, even though you may not think it's a big deal or it doesn't make sense. You should really dig deep and try to figure out, is this something that I should change? And if so, why was I that way? Where did that come from? And it's all about communication in the end.
I was very unserious. She asked me a very simple question, but I gave a very sarcastic answer. The way she, like, her face just dropped. She was just like, can you just answer the question? That was kind of like, ooh. Okay, so maybe I don't have to be joking all the time. Maybe sometimes I can, dial it back. Okay,
so when we first got together, I was like super sensitive. I guess a lot of things bothered me, and one day he came up to me and he was like, I feel like I'm always walking on eggshells around you. And like anytime, any moment, a bomb could go off. And I was like, okay, you did something that bothered me, so. I realized that's something that I need to change, and I worked on it. It's all about like picking your battles. You don't always have to speak about every single little thing that your partner does. You just have to be okay with it, as long as it's not like destructive to your life. But I think I was someone that liked to point out every single thing that annoyed me, and I just learned to like go with the flow. We knew we wanted a future together, so we made it happen.
Yeah, no specific highs that kept us together. It's just our commitment and love for one another. The whole relationship was just organic, and there was no aha moment, no swelling violins and things like that. But it was the Holy Spirit, and it was just God, and I just had peace about the decision. Whenever we had disagreements about something, big disagreements when we were dating, we found a way to come back together. After our 2-year anniversary, I decided I was going to propose, but I didn't want to propose on the 2-year anniversary. I wanted to propose on New Year's Eve.
So you guys know, like on the plaza where they have that body of water with those boats? Well, that looks so like elegant to me, and I thought it was so amazing. I was
gondola.
Like, yes, I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do that one day. And he was like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah. So he listened, he heard me, and we did that.
Never
but
again.
I didn't know, because like the water smelled bad.
There
was homeless people everywhere. There's
again.
Trash everywhere. And I was
Never again.
Oh, I get it. I thought it was like this amazing, magical experience, which it was. And the whole time I thought he had a ring box in his pocket. He didn't, so I cried. And when I say I was crying, I wasn't like boo-hoo crying. It was just like 2 thug tears. I was like, I thought it was gonna be something, but whatever. It better happen later. But yeah.
Okay. And so I really didn't have any nervousness leading up to it. I strongly believe that, when you pray for something and you have peace about that situation, that's what you're supposed to do. So we were getting ready for church. We were having church for New Year's Eve, and we weren't living together. So she came over to my apartment. Back then, I was into shoe reviews, like Jordans and things like that. And so my plan was I was going to have Risha film me opening a new pair of Jordans, because that's what I was into. So I had a Jordan box, and I had her record me. I know she was like, "You're such a nerd. What are you doing?"
So I was in the middle of getting ready, and he was calling my name, and I was like, doesn't he know I'm getting ready? He's like, oh, I want to do a shoe review. And I was like, can we just do that when we come back? We're getting ready to go to church. He's like, no, I want to do this review right now. I was like, okay. So I was standing there recording with, I think, his phone. And
I was like, hey, what's up, everybody? I got these new Jordans in, and blah, blah, blah. And so then I opened up the box, and I was like, they gave me the wrong shoes.
It was kind of like an emotional roller coaster, because I felt so bad. My heart dropped in my stomach when he opened the box and he said, I got God. So I was thinking it was an empty box. And it was a reveal, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible.
They gave me this, and then I pulled out the engagement ring.
I actually froze and I almost dropped the phone just because I wasn't expecting it.
But no, yeah, wedding day was beautiful. It rained.
Which is a good sign.
Yeah, they say rain on the wedding day is good because when you tie a knot, the knot is stronger when it's wet. Pretty much exactly how we planned it. I mean, I remember the day, but like it just goes by so fast. We were just so busy, we don't remember anything. I do remember eating, but we were constantly getting bothered while we were eating.
Oh my gosh,
congratulations.
People pull you this way, that way, take a picture. You literally do not get to spend a lot of time with the person you're marrying.
It was crazy because like we were going on our honeymoon, our cruise right after that. So by the time we got done with the wedding, it was like 11 o'clock when we got to our apartment, and we just packed and then we got on a plane. It was just a whirlwind, a beautiful whirlwind, but it was a whirlwind.
Yeah, it was definitely one of my favorite days because it's literally a day where you get to have every single person that you absolutely love in one room at the same time. It was just such a beautiful moment. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but people say like, you know, when you marry someone, you marry their family and all the drama and things like that, and you have to make sure you have the best relationship with this person in the family and that person. It's like, no, we're all that we have. Not to say that our families are terrible, but like, that's not our number one focus. It's us and our relationship. We don't let any outside factors affect us.
You do marry the family, but it's up to you and your spouse to, you know, insulate yourselves and your relationship from all that. Stand up for your spouse, even to your family. If you feel like, you know, your spouse is being hurt by something, if that's your family or not, you stand up for your spouse. You say, yo, that's not cool. And, you know, we're not doing that. So when you get married, wife is number one priority. Your mom, still great, you love her, but you make sure your wife is good first. That's what the Bible says, that a man leaves his mother and father and clings to his wife, and they become one.
For anybody out there that has the same family setup as we do, just don't let outside factors affect anything within your relationship. So there's definitely a dynamic shift when we got married. And I'll say this because for a woman, everything in your life changes because you're moving out of your place to your partner's place. Like just every single thing about my life changed, and it was like huge in my mind because don't think I even thought about that part. Like you get married, your last name changes, you have to do all this paperwork, you live somewhere completely new, you have new neighbors, you have a new route to work, you have to figure out all these different time stamps for everything happening in your life. I would say the strength in our relationship is definitely communication. We're really good at like taking time to sit down and really talk things out, whether it lasts 1 hour or 3 hours, and making sure we are creating a lay of the land to where we understand each other even better, and sometimes it draws us even closer because we are creating our own path.
Making sure the other person feels heard. I think that's the biggest thing with communication, is not listening to respond, but listening to put yourself in that person's shoes, get some type of empathy for that person in that situation. Even if you don't agree with it, or even if you feel like you necessarily how it's viewed was not how it was, you still need to make sure that person, like I said, is heard, and then you go into giving your side of the situation and then figuring out how to rectify it. I think one thing that I've learned is that you can't say sorry, but just say sorry, then reiterate what you heard and confirm that, you know, that is what your partner is feeling. I've learned when the person feels like they're heard and understood, they're more receptive to what it is that you did to hurt them, and then they can hear you better when you're trying to explain what happened. I think also letting the person be who they are, and you just kind of have to be like, okay, that's who that person is. That's what I married, that's the package. I cannot be upset about what it is they do or they don't do because that's who they are. are, and that is something that is a part of them and it's not harming you in any way. So you just kind of let that be their interest, that be, you know what I'm saying, how they do certain things, whatever it is, you just kind of have to let them be them and not make them feel bad about how they are.
Don't think that you can go into a relationship building your partner. They're not projects. Unless it's like detrimental to your relationship, it's not a big deal. And then one thing I learned was during arguments, it was so hard for me to see myself doing something wrong. And so I did not like apologizing. Like, it made me want to vomit because I did not think whatever I was doing was wrong. But then I got to the point to where I was like, you know, I need to start making an effort to truly mean the apology and understand why I'm apologizing, because it's a big deal and it'll help us in our future.
The thing with marriage is that you are basically giving your partner a loaded emotional gun of your emotions, of your insecurities, of your vulnerabilities, and you're trusting this person not to use that gun on you.
Yeah, 2018 was a doozy. So I lost my grandmother, and that like really put me in a bad place. And as soon as it starts to lift, Daniel, I think around August 2018, he started having these fevers and he couldn't get his body temperature regulated. And he just had the chills, and he told me he tried to put a jacket on, it didn't work. And then he sat outside in his car in the sun, and that didn't help. And then he was coming home and he had the chills and just shaking. So we went to the ER, and we were there all day, and they just referred us to another doctor.
It was a mess.
But the day we found out what it actually was, crazy as it sounds, was on his birthday.
I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma in 2018. And so that was, you know, tough. I had to do, I think, 12 rounds of chemotherapy. You know, that was rough on my body. And
that was definitely the lowest part of the relationship for me. I'm like the mama bear with my friends, and I just took that role and ran with it. Anytime I felt like I wanted to break down and cry, it was only when I was at home, like by myself. And I understood that like throughout the entire process, he was going to be at his weakest point, and I had to be the strong one for the both of us. Because in a relationship, there are going to be moments where you have to do more than your spouse, or vice versa, or sometimes it could be even killed.
I trusted God, and I know He was going to heal me and I was going to come out, so I wasn't worried about it. So I wasn't depressed or nothing like that. But it definitely was more work for Risha to, you know, just make sure I'm good. And that time I was very proud of her, because she's very, like she said, things need to be in order, and she's very, you know, particular about things, and she gets anxious about things. Instead of during that time being a worrier, she was a warrior. That's why I married her. Not saying I foresaw me having this illness, but I knew she's gonna hold it down. My ride or die. I knew I had a real one, a good one.
And it was crazy because like, he's right, he never got depressed. He never was in a dark moment. And at a point where we was unsure, because they were like, it could either be leukemia or non-Hodgkin's, which leukemia is normally fatal. And I don't know, it kind of makes me emotional because there was a moment where we thought like it was going to be the end, but the family fasted and prayed, and it ended up being what we wanted it to be, which was great. We thank God that it was, but like, man, that was a doozy. And it definitely made me us stronger. And in my perspective, I feel like we did become even closer, because like, not everybody gets to have that testimony, but like, just knowing that like, you get married and then like, you think you're gonna spend your whole life together, and then in one moment, that could be over and done.
The goal for a marriage is just I think if we can keep it how it is, I'm good. personally, just always staying closer to God and growing with God. What I've learned is honesty is the best policy, but Bishop used to always say, put a little bit of sugar on your words. And I think that has helped us a lot.
Sometimes I feel like honesty can be scary because it is something that you want to bring up, but you don't want it to cause any type of friction, because it might be so honest to where you'll need some space just because your partner didn't like what you said or didn't realize it was even something that you needed to discuss. But there are moments where I am honest about something and it could be like a little hurtful. Definitely make sure that you're honest no matter what, because it's only going to help you guys in the end.